Hey, welcome back to the next video segment. Hope things are going okay. I have another exciting non-math video for you, which just seems like we're not doing so many math videos, but they're more to come. Don't worry. So anyway, the book that I have for you has to deal with success and probably a lot of psychology again. And I like this topic because it's you use your brain, and there's a lot of psychology out there that you just don't, that maybe don't, we don't, not aware of. And so it kind of pinpoints how you see yourself throughout life. And it really determines who maybe the person that you become and how you notice things and how you use your 3 pound brain to kind of figure things out. So here's kind of what I have. So it's called Clearer, Closer, and Better. And this is by Emily Balcetis, and she is a PhD associated professor of psychology in New York University. And so it says how successful people see the world. And you kind of have to define success. And success is different through a lot of people. I mean, success is that you can be a successful parent. How do you define a successful parent? Well, somebody that's there for them, they take care of them, they raise, give them what they need, not always what they want. That's kind of different. Just kind of the person to depend on, and that's maybe a successful parent. Maybe successful at your job, that you show up to your job all the time. You're very punctual. You are dedicated. You are you're showing enthusiasm, and maybe that's successful to you. Or maybe success is just getting out of bed every morning and then waking up and moving on with your life. I don't know. But anyway, this is what the book kind of has this. And Emily says that it teaches us how to see the world, happiness, meaning, and health and prosperity. It's kind of like how you see the world. And so we tend to look at the big picture and we find long details a little bit more challenging. So sometimes you can see the big picture of what you want, and maybe it's the small details that kind of determine what how you get there. So in a couple of other videos that I showed you, that you see the top here, and you're starting here, and you want to get to that point, and it's like you're setting a goal here, and you have to start somewhere. And your plan is you want to have a roadmap to get there, and it's sometimes that's very hard, but it's the stuff that's the obstacles that are in between that you see what you want to kind of get in your way of your success. So Emily says that you have what we call visual tactics. Visual tactics. It's like your narrow focus. You're closing your attention to see, to get stuff done. So you close your attention, you're kind of like laser focused. You want to see, hey, I want to get this done, but I have other things that are kind of clouding that. But you want to kind of narrow that into there, so you want to kind of get that done. So it's kind of like you're seeing the forest through the trees. Matter of fact. So you're seeing the forest through the trees that are in your way. And you have to kind of recognize your course of action. So you kind of have to create like what we call a checklist and your objectives assessment to inspire you to be planning and adjusting your gauge so you can get things done. So we kind of have like a gauge in our lives. Maybe that one morning we're full power. The next morning you didn't have a good enough sleep, things are bothering you, you're stressed, and you kind of have half or less than half power, and your willpower is kind of gone. Your willpower is kind of how much energy you have throughout the day. And sometimes that can be depleted because you don't have a good enough sleep. So you have to kind of have like a frame, a reference, and it directs your attention to improve your ability to read others and to read emotions and have better relationships. So I think that what Emily's trying to say is that in our frame of life, if you look at things maybe with the glass half full with liquid, you're maybe more optimistic, maybe you're more happy. You see that those things that I plan are going to get done. And that makes you feel good, successful. And so it kind of explores how we perceive things, and it shapes our success in our decision making. So if you see something that's doable, that I can get done, that will make me a much better productive person, your frame of reference is like, I'm going to change my attitude so I can get there. And sometimes there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be troubles, but you're going to have that laser focus, that frame. And so it kind of depends on how you are forming you as a person, that you're getting better with your relationship based on your character, how you're acting. And so a lot of it goes with social psychology. And social psychology is how you are becoming one with other humans or other people, your interactions. And it kind of drives your perspective into that fashion and to improve your life and with others too. So the key themes that Emily points out in the book is that, one, our visual perception and our goal achievement. And in other videos, I've discussed this with goals. You see that goal up there, and you have to start somewhere, and you have to kind of plan to get there. And you kind of want to stay focused sometimes on that goal, because if you don't stay focused, what our mind does, we begin to kind of, go in different directions. And sometimes it takes us a long time to get reacclimated, to get back on track. And that's hard. And I know life comes up. So it's really just, you have to stay focused, but you got to work harder at it and smarter. The second theme of this book is that you have to have a mental framing, which is you have to change your frame. You have to interpret challenges as motivation. So challenges are always, you're all gonna have a challenge. It's a challenge to pay bills. It's a challenge to go to work. It's a challenge to raise kids. It's a challenge to go to school. But that challenge could be temporary. Depends on how you perceive it and your mental acuity. It depends on how you're looking at it. And it really is just how you are working at it and your resilience of it. The third key theme is our perceptions can lead to significant changes in our behavior. So that's a good one. If we perceive things as very challenging and kind of depressing, your attitude is going to change because you're going to feel depressed. But if you're feeling that, oh, that's a challenge, and you think a little bit more creative and a little bit more positive, your behavior will become a little bit more alert. And so you have to take these advantages. You take an advantage or an opportunity or an advantage, I should say, that leads to significant behavioral change. So, the challenges might shape your thinking, but the challenges might be good for your thinking too. And so we kind of need to have this light to hit the objects so they can bounce back. So remember, light is interesting. Light source or from the sun. The reason we see things is because it bounces off. So this book has light that's coming in, that's bouncing and hitting you and hitting me, and I can see the book. So I think that our perception is that once light hits that and bounces back, I can kind of react to it. Kind of interesting, I think. That wasn't really discussed a whole lot in the book. I kind of put my perception because if you put light on the subject, that means you can see it. That means you can kind of deal with it a little bit. And our eyes are very incremental tools to see the world and shape our experiences. Remember, it's how we see the world that shapes us. And setting those goals and challenges, nothing. I think it was, I forgot who said this. Maybe it was, I probably get the quote here later, but somebody said that if you see the world in a difficult place, at first, it's going to be difficult, but everything's difficult at first. I forgot who said it. I think it was Bruce Lee that said that, but don't quote me on that. But you have to focus your attention on things like, on challenges like that so you can be successful. Because success, remember, I don't know how you're defining success, but think of it like you have this thing that's up here, this goal that you want to succeed, that you want to do it. And you're starting here, and it might take you some time to get there. And you have all this different journey, this path that you got to take. And there's so many obstacles on that path to get that successful. And it really, how is your attention focused or on that you want to get that done? And it might take you some years. It might take you 5 minutes, depending on the success. It might take you all your life. Don't know. But the first step in planning so she kind of does this. Emily says that you have to identify what's going on first, and then you can react on it. So if it's in sight, if something's in sight, it's in your mind. It's kind of like that phrase is that if it's out of sight, out of mind. Well, if it's in sight, it's in mind. And you have to kind of learn to read the situation too. Learning to handle the problem is a lot different as well, but you got to read the room too. So like you go into an audience or you're going to go make a presentation and you want to kind of read the room. You kind of want to look at the audience to see, how is this going? Maybe you're going in for a big job interview, and you have like 3 or 4 people around the room, and you walk in the room, you want to look presentable, and you want to know what you're doing, and you kind of want to look at people and just kind of see who they are and how they present themselves. Are they very closed? Or are they kind of like open, smiling? That's an indicator of kind of like, okay, my success here, I want to get this job. So my success is here to get this job, and I have these people that are in an interview me, and I got to get there. So you try to read the facial expressions, and you try to see what they're, kind of how they're presenting themselves, and that's okay. And it's kind of like it's very important when you're giving a speech, giving a speech to somebody, because you kind of have to look. If you look at the nods, if people are nodding, that means they're listening. If you're giving a speech and there's nobody doing anything, you might want to spice it up, say something. Maybe it's just how you're speaking. I don't know. But if people are nodding, that means something's happening, and it kind of alleviates the anxiety that you're having too. So it's kind of like a thing we call growth versus fixed mindset. So a growth mindset is kind of like you're seeing in a positive light. You are born with certain skills, but that growth mindset says I might have a handicap in a certain area, but I'm going to get out of that. I'm growing, and you're kind of look at everything in a positive light. And it takes a certain intelligence to do that, because you got to have some experience. But a fixed mindset is like, you know what? I'm born with this, and I'm going to die with it. I'm done. And so there's really nothing that you can do. You're just saying, that's who I am. I'm going to be critical. I'm going to be sarcastic, and that's just me. I just have a basic skill. I'm done. And you kind of just have that. But a growth mindset says, I'm going to adapt, and then I'm going to grow. So it's just your observations can change the way you behave. And that's very critical. And that's kind of why I like this book and like this author, because, she does study psychology. And the title says, clearer, closer, better. It's like, I think that's kind of like you have to see things in a little clearer, and then you might have to get a little closer. And then the closer you get, the better you're going to feel. I think that's kind of what I take away from this. But she also mentions a couple things about multitasking, and sometimes multitasking is a good thing, but it also takes away a lot of your willpower and energy. So if you have so many things going in your life, and you want to multitask, you want to do this one, but at the same time you want to take care of this, it takes a lot of energy to do that sometimes, and you don't want to start over, because the sequence is going to continue on. And she says that when we experience something new, unpredictable, or out of our control, our bodies respond by producing what we call a stress hormone, which is cortisol. And so when we think so we're multitasking, and then if one thing doesn't work, and we're so focused, and maybe we do another thing, and that doesn't work, your stress level is going to increase, because it's like, well, I'm doing 3 things at once, but I'm not doing them 100%, and it's stressing you out because you're trying to get that done. And it's kind of like a mother, maybe you're a mother or a father, and you're trying to do 3 things at once. You're trying to get the kids at breakfast, you want to get the kids their lunches made, and then you want to get them dressed. And you have all these different things going on, and it takes a lot of time. Everything takes a little bit of time. And maybe you said, okay, the kids got to school, and says, well, Mom, Dad, I'm missing my sandwich. Oh, the sandwich was on the table. I forgot to grab it. I was doing too many things at once. So it causes you to have a lot more additional stress. So she says that multitasking works, but you got to do it with a little bit of restrictionness. And that's I think that's good to have. So that adrenaline kicks in when you're stressed, and it's like, okay. But multitasking has its limits. And you're putting the strain on your cognitive abilities too when you're doing multitasking, and sometimes that willpower is just so much during the day, and you can deplete it very fast. It hurts when you do not live up to your expectations. So that's kind of like the big thing I want you to take away is our expectations is that I have this big thing that I want to do that will make me more successful in life. And sometimes you're expecting that to be done in a certain amount of time, and it doesn't. And that kind of, you don't live up to that, so you put yourself down sometimes. Or you try a different way. Remember, it depends on how you perceive the world, perceive you. And so, yeah, I think that's really what I get from this book. And it's not that long. It's that's actually about 230 pages. But it's an easy read. It depends on how you look at it. And how I read this a little bit, though, I will maybe share this in another video. But I underline a lot of stuff that I want to, and I have a little strategy of how I'm doing this. I try not to use highlighters because you can highlight the whole book, but you don't want to highlight the whole book because then it's like you're rereading the whole. It's like you're kind of redoing the whole book if you think about it. But you always want to pick out important things. And so maybe I have a little video on that, how I critique my reading abilities. But I'm hoping that this video was interesting. To me, it was. I think that it's how you perceive the world that makes you who you are. And sometimes that can be hard. And it's a learning thing. So hopefully that was good. I will see you in the next one.